Aloha, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to our channel where we learn to put our own masks on first so we can have an awesome relationship with our spouse or soon-to-be spouse, because we really think that this relationship will help to open up unbelievable opportunities. Today, we're going to talk about journaling.
My favorite topic.
Jen has been on fire for journaling. She's been watching hours and hours and hours of videos, and I would say that when I take a glance at her journal, it's taken a massive upgrade. There's lots of colors and drawings and all kinds of good stuff, and we're excited to get into it and how it helps our own sanity and in our relationship. And what I want to ask you now is, what are some of the benefits you're getting from your new and upgraded practice?
Yeah, so I've tried so many different types of journaling. There was definitely a progression. I did bullet journaling for a while, which is something I don't really do anymore. I used the 5-minute journal for a really long time until at some point I had to give myself permission to let it go because it wasn't serving me in the way that I wanted. But yeah, journaling has been so amazing for me for so many reasons, but I'll try to bring it to 3 points. And I guess some of the things that journaling, the practice, what it's redeemed for me. So I would say, first of all, I know you opened up our intro with putting on our own masks, and that's a line from the Sleeping It Last song, right? I'm an Enneagram Type 2, and he talks about how, when you get on flights, the safety procedure in the beginning, they tell you to put your own mask on first before you help other people. And I find that this is such an easy and just inviting way for me to take care of my own needs first. And in my morning routine, I've kind of built it so that I get really excited to show up and just be open and curious about what will pop up for me. And instead of letting everything just kind of swim around in my head, I treat this time as I would, sitting down, hanging out with a close friend, right? To be really engaged and present and just allowing things to come up as they may. And I just kind of let them come out on paper and I process it whichever way. And I think when I take that time for myself, before I even start my day connecting with anyone else, including you, I already feel so full. And I feel like I've already checked in with some of the things that have been concerning me, or maybe things that I want to do. And I think when I show up like that from a full place already, I'm so much better at being a wife to you, or being a better friend, or a better coach, and just with the people that I interact with. So number one, it's huge for taking care of my own needs. The second thing has been really interesting for me because before we moved out to Hawaii, one of our really good friends, Hung Chan, he had a word for both of us. And his word for me was, he was like, Jen, you just get messy. Don't be afraid to get messy. And I felt like that was so fitting for me because just my personality, I always want to make sure that I've figured out all the details from A to Z, and that if I'm going to walk anyone through it, or if I'm going to explain it, I want to be very well versed in it. And, you can probably guess how that might have held me back in a lot of ways, right? So this struggle with perfectionism, beating myself up, right? all those negative self-thoughts. One of the things inspired by what he told me was when I started this journal, and it's a journal with blank pages. There aren't even lines or grids or anything. The dedication page on here, it says, to getting messy and loving it. So for me, that was the intention that I set. So every time I sit down, I don't have to worry about grammar or who might read it. Am I making sense? It's whatever decides to come up, it all belongs, and I'm going to embrace myself through that whole entire thing. And so it kind of started with words and putting it out, but I have been experimenting with new ways of expressing myself. And that recently has been in the form of watercoloring. And gosh, when I flip through this, it makes me so happy. I have love notes that Brandon slips in, little doodles. So just to kind of see how my process is involved, you can tell some of these pages I'm oh, it's not my best work. But as soon as I have that thought, it's kind of letting that go already and trusting that that's part of this process of me discovering what I like and what I want. And I get to play in here, I get to sometimes I leave and there's like paint on my hands. And one of the people that I absolutely adore, her name is Ali Brown on YouTube. I've been watching so many of her journaling videos, and she really opened my eyes to watercoloring as well. And something that she said that really stuck with me is the fact that like when she also gets paint on her hands, it reminds her of like being a little child and like just getting your fingers dirty. And it's just like, wow, like I had fun today. And normally I would be like, oh my gosh, I can't get paint on my desk. I have to clean everything. And I get so fixated on like having like the perfect circumstance and staying organized. But all of that has like just gone out the window. And afterwards, like I just feel so free in this way that I haven't experienced before. And I think one of the things that I've wanted to cultivate in my own life and in our relationship too is playfulness. Like I think I take myself so seriously sometimes, and I have a hard time laughing at myself when I mess up. And I think that having this outlet has really created room for me to start doing that.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
The last thing that has been amazing for me, just flipping through my journal and reading it, I feel so connected to God. I think this is such a huge part of my faith. And just seeing like the prayers and the desires on my heart like on paper, and then getting to read how God's been providing for us all along, even if in that moment, like let's say I'm really struggling with something and it feels like I'm alone, like that's really never the case. And so I have like a physical log of all the ways that he's provided for us, and then all the times of uncertainty. I know like that's a lie if I continue to believe that. And when I'm writing, I just feel so much gratitude. It's like a physical practice of gratitude for me. Like this page I feel like is perfect. My heart is ready to receive his kindness. And then I had a stamp that says thank you, and I just stamped it all over the place. And it's so messy. This is like not really normally me, you know? But I was just so overwhelmed, and I actually let that out on paper.
That doesn't look that messy to me. So I guess that's all relative.
To me. Yeah, and it's a record of my prayer, right? I know I mentioned that earlier, but it just fills me in all these different ways, and I think it helps me to come alive and to be a colorful version of myself. So it's been so incredible.
That's awesome.
What about you? Like, can you share what your routine's like, and how it's benefited you in our marriage?
My routine is a mix of the morning pages method and the 5-minute journal. But I basically pull up an Evernote, and I have a template on there where I've saved the questions, and so I open it up. I have a space where I it's kind of like a blank canvas, but not really. The goal is to just write whatever comes to mind. So inevitably it probably talks mostly about my sleep or something like that. And then if something of substance comes up, great. But the goal is basically to just write for, and I set a 10-minute timer instead of like 30 minutes or whatever she does. But 10-minute timer just to write down whatever thoughts comes to mind. And then I just talk about what's in the 5-minute journal.
Three things you're grateful for.
Yep.
Like you set your intentions for the day. What are the 3 things you're going to do to make your day great? Yeah.
And then an affirmation. That's always a tough one. But the point is, I've been doing that, but the biggest value that I've gotten from it recently, which is interesting, is a mindset from the same person at the same time. Right? The word that Songchan had for me was believe in yourself. And as an Enneagram Type 1, I don't think I fully realized it until this past Christmas when we had our impromptu Enneagram retreat, that I am really hard on myself. I knew that I was, but I thought that was normal. I thought that was how you get better. I look at the ideal and I find many, many ways to put myself down and ultimately disqualify myself. In reflection, now that I'm aware of this, I know that I have repressed this, and it's definitely rubbed off on Jen. There are still times now where I feel angry because I feel like she should know certain things, or if she only tried harder, she could be better. When I peel back the layers, I know that it's not doing anybody good, especially me. There are times I wake up and I realize even in my dreams, I'm putting myself down. And I wake up thinking like, holy cow, I don't think that I am worthy or capable of doing what I'm setting out to do. And the journaling, especially when I'm feeling these strong emotions, being able to recognize those things and then reframe it in the way that's going to serve me, that's been incredible for myself, but also in the way that I deal with you.
I feel like you've become so much more empathetic.
Yeah.
And just like a quick recent example, I kind of joked for a long time that Brandon doesn't have emotions and he doesn't understand me. He's all just logic. And we had a moment recently where you were struggling with something and I was just trying to get clarity on it. But then you felt like I was rushing you through the process. And in that moment, you were like, hey, I really need emotional support from you right now.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I'd never heard those words from him before. And immediately, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder how it was coming off. Now, like, I'm like looking at myself. Did he think that I thought like what he was going through wasn't unimportant? And I just really reeled back and it's like, okay, I'm here. How can I help? You know?
Yeah, your disposition, everything changed, and it really helped me because, I just needed it. And I would have probably never would have admitted it if I didn't realize all this about myself and continue to massage and grow in the way that I need to. That answers the question, right? Okay. Awesome. Well, that about sums it up for us. What we'd like to know is, do you journal? And if you do, what do you do? And how does it help you? So leave that in the comment below. We'd love to hear more about it and get a little bit of a chatter going.
Oh, sign up for our newsletter, our Above the Waves newsletter. It'll be linked down below. If you want to hear more about like how to take care of yourself so you can have a kick-ass marriage. Also, we'll have links to our individual newsletters down below as well. On Fridays, I share 5 things that I was grateful for that week. And Brandon on Monday shares his list of 5 things that he was grateful for. So you get like a little Rogers sandwich if you sign up for both.
Well, thank you for watching and catch you next week.
Yeah. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.